well, the Sunday morning political talk shows can set the news agenda for the week and set the boundaries for political debate. So why are they giving airtime to politicians still peddling a debunked conspiracy theory that threatens the future of American democracy? Adam Riley has more.
On the most recent ABC This Week, John Carl closed an interview with Republican Whip Steve Scalise with this awkward question.
Clear this up for me. Joe Biden won the election. He is the legitimate president of the United States.
Scalise's answer? No, not really.
There were a few states that did not follow their state laws. We're going to finally get back to the way the rule of law works. Millions of people are still concerned.
All of which elicited this limp response.
All right, Congressman Steve Scalise, thank you for joining us.
Exchanges like that are becoming a talk show staple, as Charlotte Klein points out in a piece for VanityFair.com.
Every Sunday there seems to be a new big lie pusher coming on.
Some hosts show a bit more gumption.
You didn't have the guts to tell the truth that this election was fair.
The results were certified in every single state after counts and recounts.
Still, Klein says that giving any airtime to election denialism suggests it's a valid viewpoint.
In the same way that a network having a climate denier on would be legitimizing claims that are unfounded.
And she notes election denialism has already led to violence. One possible solution, start these interviews by asking guests if the election was legit. And if they say no, end things right there.
That person is either grossly misinformed or acting in bad faith. And in either case, you wouldn't want someone like that on your show.
Unless you're more focused on ratings than the truth.
You know, Dan, the Sunday morning talk shows have prided themselves for decades on being reaching across the aisles. And Tim Russert was the master of that. And he had a civilized conversation with people from both sides of the aisle. And there was always a give and a take and an opinion. But, I mean, Stephanopoulos and others are right. There is no opinion in this one. The election was fair. And so Stephanopoulos is being accused of being biased by stating the truth. But do they have to have these people on? Or are there other people that they, from the Republican Party? Why is it necessary to have election deniers on?
Yeah, I don't think they should have these people on. I don't think they have to have them on. But as Adam pointed out, I do think at the end of the day, it's about the ratings. You create a lot of buzz. And these are shows, generally speaking, that are getting a little tired. Younger audiences aren't attracted to these kinds of shows. So what can you do that creates a little buzz? And if you have a controversial person on, then it will do that. In terms of the format and the follow-up, I mean, even back to Tim Russert, it almost seems as if they go into these shows and these interviews with a checklist. Here are the 10 things that we want to, go after them with. And you'll see there are always quotes they put up on the board, on the screen. So they really have to hit all of those because these are issues that perhaps came up that week and you need to ask that person about it. And so that's why you'll have the quick follow-up and then move on to the next one. Then you run out of time. That's generally been the format of that show, and it continues to be now.
Well, the problem is you can't have a debate if you don't have a shared set of facts. And what these guests have been doing is really the same thing that Rush Limbaugh used to do, where he'd throw out something, what if, and then throw out this crazy scenario. There are no facts behind it. You're just planting the seed. You can backtrack yourself and say, well, I didn't actually say that. When you look back and see what those people are saying, they tend to parse their words in a way that they're not saying there was fraud, but they're not saying that there wasn't fraud. And so they open up this space for themselves to inject, as I guess said, the big lie into the conversation. And that's where the challenge is for these networks. They're trying so hard to fit themselves into this or that debate format, but it's not a true debate.
And so I would say they're suffering from, other sideism. Where's the other side? We got to find that. And so even if it's way off the charts and not true, it's still the other side. And I'm supposed to be here to be the arbiter on the side that is true. But as Joanna has said, you're starting from a false place. So you can't ever go forward. Also, what's suffering here is that there's a circle of people that go around and around, and people who book these shows apparently are reluctant to go outside of that. This is why, and this makes me insane, they will find the nuttiest black person on the planet, someone and no one has ever heard of, to come up and say, oh, black people are crazy. Okay, well, thank you so much. Now we've had the other side. And that's exactly what's happening here. Don't book them to begin with. You already know what they're going to say. Don't do it. It's ridiculous.
I mean, I don't know if I can follow that. That was too good. But I mean, look, the problem with these shows is also just that they are tired, right? I worked on This Week like 10 years ago, and the format hasn't changed at all since then. And the reality is the world has changed, right? You used to have to do these shows. They're incredibly access driven. They rely on people showing up. And it used to be that the reason people came and behaved was because it was the only way they could access the audience. But now they have a million other ways to access the audience. They can go on Fox, they can go on Twitter. And so they're not playing the game the same way they used to. And the hosts are acting like nothing has changed in the world. Like, I think there just needs to be a reevaluation of what the point of these shows is, what it's doing to serve the audience in a meaningful way. Because just having someone come on and say something and then having someone come on and say the opposite thing isn't useful at all. So I think it just requires like more imagination than the networks have been willing to really put into it for a long time.
I think that's a good point. And, you know, Dan, it used to be that the Sunday morning talk shows got excerpted, as somebody mentioned, and it drove the news cycle all weekend long. But that isn't true anymore because, first of all, I stopped watching. I don't even know what year I stopped watching, but I'd rather sit there, read the puzzle, do the puzzle, read the newspaper than turn on Sunday morning talk shows. I just don't do it anymore.
No, you're right. I mean, I have to admit, I've stopped watching as well, and it used to be something that I would never miss.
Sure.
I'd watch all of them. But the fact of the matter is we're here talking about it, right?
Yeah.
So, and the reason we're talking about it is because what happened on that show. And so they do want to create at least some buzz around the interviews that they have on. If someone comes on and makes a whole lot of sense and doesn't throw any dust up in the air, then it's not that exciting.
Mm-hmm.